Sida, sida.
Bravo, Kopci.
Типа си до старачки дома. Си да што не смеете и не може да седите дома. И си да што не чувате. И си да што се изложувате на ризик сега дома.
At the end of the day, it's about this community, and it's really about the passion for art and culture. And I think particularly in these times, it became even more prevalent, or it's something which is underscored also in terms of we all had to, every one of us in Europe and all over the world, we are all in the same situation. We all experienced this lockdown. We will be facing and are facing critical times politically and also economically, because it's not a bubble which bursts. I think this is also a difference to other crises. We all experienced, or in our age, we experienced that the bubble burst, and then it's maybe one part or one field of the economy, but it of course also had ripple effects. But now at the moment it's so unique because it affects really everyone. I'm an optimist, and I really try to focus on the positive sides here. Of course, also being critical about terms of like the measurements which were in place or are still in place and so forth. But I really look into the future, and what I've seen so far, what came about, and I think it will stay. It's there to stay, particularly also in the digital sphere, is community building. And I think this is really something super important, and I believe in that it will not only be there for the COVID, or in this crisis, but beyond that. And it will accompany us, and it really... What I know is, of course, the necessity for culture to be supported, and also the necessity when we're facing this situation, as I mentioned earlier on, culture is essential too, and visual arts is essential for our society as well. I mean, just imagine if everything would close down. Of course, if the restaurants would close down, this would be sad. So it's really the whole infrastructure. We are all affected. And I really think that culture, in particular visual arts, it needs to be handled equally, just like, other spheres of society. Vienna is a city which heavily relies on what we have to offer. It's amazing, this vast, this great quality of culture, in particular, and the city also relies on tourism, and so bring these two things together, and at the moment it's almost like a desert, and it's really hard to tell what the future will look like. And what is important is that, of course, we are all facing these economic challenges, and especially artists. At the same time, I think it's also a chance to decelerate. I mean, we all have been all over the place, and now we're kind of stuck. and sometimes this can be also nice to reassess, and also to find do new, different, creative ways. And it's time for experimentation. I think there is, after this break, there is also this hunger and also this necessity to reinvigorate the scene. And it's such an important date for Vienna and also the region in fall, at the end of September. So we do, as a team, as Vienna Contemporary, also the best to guarantee, a really good outcome for everyone involved. And I really believe that it's important, particularly now. So Vienna Contemporary is taking place end of September. It's from 21st to 27th September, 4 days. Last weekend of September in the wonderful Markthalle. It's, I think, now for the 4th or 5th time, I'm so sorry, that it's taking place in these halls, which are really amazing. This is my second year as the artistic director of Vienna Contemporary, so I thought, okay, first year is to of course, a lot of work, and I love it, very intense, and let's go for it. And then the second year, I can focus on, a few also things to dig out some more, and to, it's completely upside down. What I'm doing now is really to find the best format, actually, for all of us, for everyone involved to make it happen. But for the future, that's a different story. And what I was also thinking, what we are as a team thinking about, was that it's very important as a fair, not only to be visible, during this very short period of time. It's 4 days only. Very intense, very good. But then, our team is in Vienna throughout the whole year. And so we can also engage more and also be visible more in different fields, may it be in Vienna, but also, of course, in the region, which is the most interesting for us, actually, as a fair. So, we need to talk about that. I think that in terms of let's say, innovations, it's more at the moment what we are focusing on is the digital, more or less. So in the physical sphere, it's very important to make the best of the whole situation, to guarantee great quality. And here I'm also happy to work with curators, for Zone 1 and also for explorations, which is who are very important in that sense. But then, also for the future, it's really about what you might have noticed around us. It's the digital, which is also here to stay. I think this was also one of the questions in terms of the structural changes, which was already there, but now it accelerated, actually. My idea of, you always have talks at the fair. So, but now this year it's about really one block it's about CEE, and the other block is about, let's say, culture and technology, or visual arts and technology, which is really something very important and also very useful, educational in a sense, and something also to discuss and talk about. They are very, very important, our curators, for the special presentation. So at Zone 1, we have, I'm happy to have Cathrin Mayer on board, who is originating from Vienna, but has been living in Berlin for a while. So she has, here she brought some gallery experience, and now she has been working at Kunstwerke in Berlin. So she's very familiar with the Viennese art scene, but also with the international art scene, has great connections and a fantastic view and taste or approach. And so I was over the moon when she said, yes, I'm going to do that. Curators are I think they are essential in that sense, or they are very, very important. So because for an art fair, I think that, and it's also the dialogue you have with the curators, because of course it's always, the curators you ask, you also have an idea where it might go, even though they have all the freedom they wish for. It's also their presentation in that sense, together with the artists and the galleries. So it's a very nice way of collaboration, and it's also a very nice way of bringing in maybe different networks and bringing in different perspectives.
think for everyone, very unexpected, and a lot of adjustments, and I guess psychological struggles and so on. But I think, there are so many things happening right now due to the corona, so I think we are not at all there to know what effects it will have. I hope that ultimately it will be a positive effect if I think about the US and so on. So I think everyone is concerned with the challenges that are now coming through this crisis. I think what is happening in the US definitely would not have happened in that big scale if people would have been under normal working circumstances. So I think that's a very specific coincidence of many events together that make that kind of big protest wave happening. And we don't know what will come out of it, but I have the feeling that this is really a game changer for a lot of things, hopefully. And it might take time, but I try to stay positive here. I think structurally, definitely, things are gonna change in terms of how we travel, in terms of how we think of resources, in terms of how we think of visitors and all that. That's all like a question also of responsibility in institutions, that you have to think about safety measures and so on. But I don't know how it will be in the long run. Something that has been present before the corona and now maybe the Black Lives Matter movement was definitely trying to bring more people of color into the cultural field or giving visibility to them. I think that's something that has started years ago. So I think that's not something new. But I think a lot of things are also a bit opportunistic. Like all of a sudden it is very trendy to work with, for example, now also even before the corona illness and discussions around inclusion have been very present. And I guess this is just manifesting now in a political realm that the arts has been addressing maybe before, or has been paving a way, and now we have to see what actually will happen. But for me personally, I'm a bit, I try to stay humble, because for me it's something that now has to, it's a political situation, and there's really like things that are very pressing and very important to get solved. And I think what has been very positive is that, of course, for example, in Berlin, the arts, there's like a association for protesting among the art scene. They have been very articulate, and they always go and do and so on. So I think that's great. It's a section that is supported by the Ministry of Culture and Education. So the great part about it is that the galleries that are invited don't have to provide the full amount for paying the booth, but they have there's a basic coverage. And the idea is also to, of course, it's a commercial fair, but also this section can be more experimental. That the artists that should be invited should have some kind of relationship to Austria. So either they are from Austria, or they have, they went to the academies here, or they did a longer research here, or they somehow dive into some kind of historical context of Austria. And they have to be below 40. So that makes the category quite, let's say, those parameters are guiding my choices. And of course, this section has been there already for some years, so there have been already people participating in that section. And I try, my main focus for that section is to invite artists that are working locally but also internationally, because my experience from Vienna is that there's really extremely many artists in this city, and there's a lot of project spaces, galleries, and so on. But there's a tendency that people are only exhibiting within the country and not so much outside of the country. And for me, it's more interesting to have people that have conversations also outside, because I think it's very important to, get the other different parameters of what is good or what is bad than maybe only within the school systems here or within the discourses here.
Čekam da otvoriš usta, da teče zlato. Biram da molčam, molčenje to je zlato. Biraš da zboriš zborovi zaludni, zaludno, a sve to teplo tebe. Čekaj tvoj krik, baby. Čekaj tvoj krik, baby.
Malo interpret. Hej! Tehnički problemi.
Gledaš? Vrti krugotna tišina, ta ama jasno puštam daja za okruži. Sopstvenata jasnost, od opasnost, od patenja, od tišine, no glasno. Koga svet od stranu ba mesto preteško za odletu ba mesem kako helijum, ova je zvuk na aerodromu džungli, jak Pakistan i stanu brak za dete to što voda dal. Voda stana, platne i voda mlada. No svetli košuli, floralni printov, sve što smo deli, ki sta nam gordeli. Temni na očar, precizni pogledi, očivo oči so koji za strahovi. Tvoj krik, tvoj krik, be. Tvoj krik, tvoj krik, be. Sekoj tvoj krik, be. Sekoj tvoj krik.